All right, welcome to episode 7 of the All American Hoops podcast. My name is Chris Driscoll, and I'm welcomed by a fellow TikTok content creator, Tobias Barkley.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris. I'm excited to be on here. I mean, it's a busy time of year in the NBA, so there's lots to talk about for sure.
Absolutely. So I think it was just about this time last year that you and I actually went live together on TikTok and did our we did our at the time they had the drafts for the NBA
Right.
All-Star games. So I think this will probably be our second time doing some type of content together. So this will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're missing out
Um,
on the draft this year.
what was that?
We're missing out on the draft this
Yeah,
year.
seriously, It was always good. It was always good to bring creators together in that sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely a little bit of a bummer when I heard that the first time around. Um, but yeah, just to get started, for those of you who don't know, Tobias is a massive Clippers fan, uh, and and the Clippers have been like a top 3 favorite team of mine for a while now. It's been the Celtics, the Warriors, and the Clippers, and since then the Warriors have fallen off for obvious reasons. And yeah, and the Clippers were my pick to make the finals this year, along with my Boston Celtics. So not only is Tobias very happy to see the Clippers doing really well, it's also pretty good on my part as well. But anyway, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on this, on how the season's going.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like the C's too. You see me, I got the Tatum jersey in the back. You know, I'm a big Tatum fan, but I mean, this Clippers team had a lot of concerns, obviously, after the James Harden trade. But it seems like since December 1st, a lot of that noise has kind of died down.
Yeah, exactly. It was since the Harden trade, but then even since as well, since Russell Westbrook volunteered to go to the bench is where I really think that things started to turn around. And yeah, something that you've talked about a lot on Twitter. It's something that a lot of other people have talked about. It really, as much as people like to use Russ as the scapegoat for every single team that he's been on, I'm by no means saying that he's free of blame for all the situations that he's been in, but you see, especially with the Lakers, he was brutally slandered by the fan base. And just when I thought that like he was like the worst when he was in OKC, when he was in Houston, not so much in Washington, but yeah, it really seemed like things were going downhill for us. And once he got bought out by the Jazz, that things were going like teams weren't going to give him another shot, and the Clippers seemed like to be a match made in heaven for him. So he's just been fantastic for them, and especially in his role. But I was digging through the numbers yesterday because I do my bi-weekly power rankings for my column, and this was my 7th time. I think this past one was my 7th time. So 5 of those 7 columns I've had the Celtics as the number 1. One of those a few weeks ago I had the Timberwolves one because they were going on a good stretch and the Celtics were falling off a little bit. But it's been mostly the Celtics, and this past week I had to put the Clippers on top of them, not only because the Clippers just totally manhandled them on their own court. Yeah, it's also the fact that the Clippers have been so consistent and the Celtics have been a little concerning the past few games themselves. Hopefully they're winning against the JV Grizzlies is gonna push them in the right direction, but we'll see what happens there. But I'm definitely happy for you guys in the Clippers. Even though you are the reason that we don't have Marcus Smart today. It's
True.
So definitely mixed feelings there. But I think both of us are very happy where we are. But who knows? We might be going at each other's throats in June. So we'll see how. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we got James Harden out of it, and if you ask me before the trade, I mean, I was never a pro get James Harden guy, just because there was already issues with usage. Let's just say that, right? Like Paul George needs the ball, and to his detriment, sometimes he ISOs way too much. Kawhi, of course, you're going to give the ball to. We had Russ in there. Obviously, you know, one of the main reasons you talked about it that it didn't work with the Lakers is LeBron and Russ are very similar players in how they play. They do best when they're surrounded by shooters. So 3 guys, you know, and 1 ball. And even PJ Tucker made comments about it whenever he got traded to the Clippers. There's only 1 ball, and there's, you know, a lot of guys that need it. But like you said, I mean, Russ bought in, all the guys bought in, but exactly. Russ bought in. He, you know, was a leader, said, I'll go to the bench. And that was the end of the 5-game losing streak when we got James Harden, which is December 1st. And if you ever hear a Clipper fan talk about just this monumental run that they've been going on and how hot they've been, it always starts with December 1st. That's always the starting dates that people will look at.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, everyone's bought in, and I can't believe I didn't even include this in my notes. But Kawhi Leonard is currently 9th in the MVP tracker for Basketball Reference. Just when you didn't think that tracker couldn't lose more credibility, are you kidding me? Kawhi Leonard has been. I think this has been his best season probably since the 2017 Spurs. He's playing better than obviously the playoffs haven't happened yet, so we can't do it based off the whole season. But he's playing better than what he was playing when he was in the Raptors. He's playing better than his first year in LA. And not only that, he's obviously putting up fantastic efficiency numbers. I think I wrote it down yesterday. I think he's shooting 45% from three or something. Like, that's outrageous.
Yeah. I mean, I've got it here. I see in his last 30 games, which I'm glad you mentioned the MVP thing, because I've been on that train and I know a bunch of Clippers fans are on that right now. But in his last 30 games, going back to that December 1st timeline, he's averaging 26.5 points. And I know you're an analytics guy, so I know that you appreciate more than just your standard box score. But when the average fan looks at it, they're like, how is Kawhi in MVP talks? He's averaging 26 points. Luke is averaging 34. Well, like you said, he's 57 from the field, 51 from three, and 92 from the line in that 30-game span, which is the only player to ever do that in the history of basketball.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, and it's funny actually because I know that Woj was tweeting those out this morning. He tweeted out that, and he tweeted out the thing about the Cavs, and people were saying, "Oh, okay, why is Woj tweeting out all these stats now? He should be in his basement just looking up what trades are going down now." So yeah, that was pretty funny, given the time period we're on. But yeah, before we move on to that topic, actually, I wanted to talk about how not only is he putting up these crazy offensive numbers, he's playing some of his best defense since he won Defensive Player of the Year, and I believe it was 2017. Or 2016? Yeah,
2016, I think. Yeah,
2016. Yeah, 2016. Yeah, Draymond won 2017. So yeah, since 2016, and yeah, people talk about how much he fell off on defense, which I'm not saying that he's like a Defensive Player of the Year caliber player, but he's still playing phenomenal on ball and off ball defense. Debatably first team all defensive caliber guy again, and those are the guys that win you playoff games. Obviously, there are exceptions like Steph and Jokic, but at the end of the day, if you want to win a championship, your best players should be playing elite on both ends of the floor.
And that's the thing too. Like you mentioned, their defense, which is so funny because it's kind of been the identity of the Clippers over the 2-1-3 era, the Paul George and Kawhi era. But this year, their offense is crazy. Like again, since December 1st, first in wins, first in offensive efficiency, third in net, behind your Boston Celtics actually. And first in true shooting percentage. And it's just like as good as their offense is, their defense is actually as good because I think they can adjust to any team. They just put up 100 points against the Miami Heat. They were able to win that game. And Miami, of course, we know is a great defensive team. That's their identity. And then last night, they just played against the Atlanta Hawks, who has no defense. And, they put up 149. They allowed Atlanta to get 144, but it's like, we'll go shot for shot with you, or we can go possession per possession, 24 seconds on the shot clock. So
right,
they're scary, man. And sorry, you mentioned DPOY and the all defensive reference for Kawhi. I got to give a shout out to Russell Westbrook. I think Russell Westbrook needs to be looked at as not DPOY, but get him on the all defensive teams for sure.
Yeah, that'd be interesting for sure. I've watched a good amount of Clippers games, but I haven't really analyzed Russ's defense. But yeah, I can only imagine that. I can only imagine like the way that he's bought into his role. That it's just the same way on that end as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it'll be it's been a lot of fun, and hopefully it sticks up come playoff time. But anyway, yeah, I brought up Woj earlier, and what he's known for his Woj bombs. So we are just under 48 hours until the trade deadline.
Wow.
So yeah, and I would say besides the MLB, the NBA is probably like the most active at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be and even though there aren't many stars on the market like there was with James Harden and Ben Simmons in 2022, I still think this can be a very, very active trade deadline, given the fact that there is still so much parity in the league. Like, there's no Golden State or Cleveland, and like with LeBron, that like no team is going to be willing to go all in. I think you're going to see a good amount of teams go all in to see what happens, and also see some teams start selling. So, so each of us prepared just a list of teams that we think are going to are going to make a trade, and those that are going to need to make a trade in order to be contenders. So, Tobias, I was just wondering, who's I guess who's like your number one team that you think is definitely needs to make a trade or definitely is going to make a trade?
I'll give you one from each conference.
Yeah, sure.
For the Eastern Conference, I think it's the Knicks. You just as we just talked about the Clippers, the Knicks are so impressive too. And I think, I don't think they're going to catch Boston, but like, who's to say that they're not ready to take over the second seed? Like, who's to say at the end of the season, the New York Knicks are not the second seed, and they've got a lot of assets, whether it's picks or, some fringe guys. They've got contracts, Evan Fournier, Quentin Grimes, they want to move. Like, they've got a lot of space to do a lot of things. In the East, I expect the New York Knicks to make a move. And in the West, it's Dallas. I think there's a lot of pressure on Dallas to start to make some moves. We're wasting Luka's career. You got Kyrie, but their problem's always been in their front court, and they need some length, some defense, and some spot-up shooting. So I think Dallas and New York.
Yeah, those are great moves. And I was doing research like just like an hour before this, and as much as I think Dallas does need to make a move, there was like a list of I was going through like a list of each team. It wasn't Bleacher Report, another one that I was going through saying which player is most likely to be moved at the trade deadline. And there's a couple ones that said no one. Boston was one of them because they can only improve so much. But Dallas, they actually said no one because they're currently under the we really don't have anyone that anyone wants. Grant Williams has proven that he can be a solid role player on a contender, but it feels like that he was brought into the Mavs to be that defensive anchor, and that's just not his role. He really should be like a guy who's like the second, maybe even a sixth man on like a team that's just okay. But if you want to be a contender, he can't be like one of your main guys. He has to be like your second, third, maybe even fourth guy off the bench, and that's exactly what he was in Boston. So, but like outside of Luka, Kyrie, Grant. They have a couple other solid role players, but I don't know how many trades they can make, but that'll be interesting. But as far as goes for teams that need to make a trade, and this is going to sound like a casual take, but the Lakers probably are going to be a team that needs to make a trade.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you have two top 12 players in the league. One of them is about to turn 40. This is your only shot. I say it every year. This is their only shot, even though it seems like the LeBron refuses to age every single year. But you still got to buy in when someone is that old and that good. So I don't know what trades are out there for them. We'll talk more about specific players that are going to be in them for them later. But the East, I 100% agree with you on the Knicks. I think they're going to be buyers at the deadline. And not only the Knicks, yes. So you said that the Knicks, there's no reason why the Knicks shouldn't be like going after the 2 seed, which again, I 100% agree with that. But it shouldn't be that way. It should be Boston and the Bucks and everyone else. The Bucks need to go all in. They need to make a trade.
You're right.
And I know like a lot of people like I haven't been able to watch any of the Doc games yet under the Bucks, but people are saying like eye test wise the Bucks are looking much better on defense. So I don't know how much that to believe that, but that should be interesting. But at the end of the day, people want to blame and I talked about this with my brothers on our last podcast actually. As much as defensive schemes matter and everything, you can expect a roster of Damian Lillard, Pat Connaughton, and Malik Beasley to put together like this great defense. Even if you do have Brooke and Giannis behind you, you need some solid depth. So they need to make a move. I think it doesn't need to be a splash. They just need to make even just a little tweak might do a lot, because at the end of the day, they're still tied for second in the East. Granted, it's a big gap between 1 and 2 as of now, but I think the Bucks are probably the team that are going to be definitely looking the most to make a trade, even if they don't have a lot to give up anymore after the Dame trade.
The Bucks are interesting because I don't really, like you just talked about the Mavericks. I would say the cupboards are even more bare in Milwaukee. I don't know, like they were talking about moving Connaughton. Like I don't, who wants Connaughton? And then I heard rumors about them maybe moving on from Bobby Portis, which I didn't really understand.
No.
I think that's the exact opposite way that you should be going. So I don't know. Milwaukee, like you said though, they definitely should be in a spot paying the guys that they're paying on the court and the three coaches that they're paying off the court as well. They're paying Budenholzer, they're paying Griffin, and now they're paying Doc Rivers. So
Right.
that's a
Yeah.
heavy payroll, but they have to make a move. They got to do something for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So the teams we mentioned. So the two teams out in the East we mentioned were the Knicks and the Bucks. There's one more team that I'm thinking of. And this is just extremely tough because I don't know if they're going to be buyers or if they're going to be sellers, what they're going to be. And that's the Philadelphia 76ers.
I'd about to say it's Philly, isn't it? Yeah. I thought about Philly too when I was looking over this.
Yeah. First of all, the whole reporting with Embiid has been confusing and all that. They're saying he's getting a procedure. Sorry, I think he already got the procedure on his knee. They say he's going to be reevaluated in 4 weeks. A torn meniscus usually doesn't take 4 weeks from what I've heard. Like I'm not an expert in medicine by any stretch of the matter, but whenever I hear someone tear the meniscus, that's usually like a season ender, especially at this time of year. But
very serious injury. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially that's coming from like a very injury prone guy like Embiid. I just wouldn't go all out, especially when you have him on the books for a while now. You have your star young point guard. You have some expiring deals. It's not like this was the only year for them to buy in. Like this was the best year for them probably because they got rid of Harden and got some pieces back. Those pieces aren't so great, but they got some assets back. So maybe they trade. Tobias is probably their best asset at this point to trade. Maybe they get him back. Maybe they get something back for him. I'm not sure how much they can get with Covington and Morris.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what's going on in the GM's office right now and what they're discussing. But I wouldn't be planning around this year saying like, okay, so we need to think about Embiid coming back this year and how we can build around this year.
Yeah, Philly's weird because, like you said, it's like I wouldn't personally. What I've been saying is I would just mark the calendar off of Joel Embiid until April 1st or April 2nd, and then reevaluate it, assess the team. Do we think that we have even a sniff at making the conference finals? Let's just say conference finals. Mm-hmm. If you do, and he's 80% good and he's ready to go, run it. If not, then just hold your chips for next year. Because I mean, with all these contracts, them getting, Marcus Morris, Batum, Covington, all those guys in the James Harden deal, all expiring contracts. Now they've opened up a max slot window in the offseason because they chose not to pay Tyrese Maxey in the offseason. So they'll do some financials and be able to bring in a max player. But for me, it was always DeMar DeRozan. I always thought DeMar DeRozan was a perfect fit on the wing for them. Yeah. And I think they could have done it without giving up Tobias Harris, which is kind of it sucks for them because I look at a team with Maxey and Harris and DeMar and Joel Embiid, like it's kind of threatening in the East. But yeah, I think you're right. I think they're in a spot right now where they're waiting on pins and needles. They don't really know what to do.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to say the least. Yeah, like I said, like obviously there's more to just saying, oh, he's injured and we don't know what to do, but I don't know. Yeah, it just seems a little like as LeBron would say, it seems a little like a fish emoji.
Yeah.
In that. Yeah. So it's mostly the contenders out in the East. I mentioned the Celtics probably aren't going to make any moves because maybe they make like the only asset they really have is that TPE from Grant Williams. They can also maybe trade Payton Pritchard and like a couple of those picks for like a slight upgrade, but I don't know if they'll do that. But yeah,
when you look at the Celtics, what do you think they need? Like,
what do they need?
You could say marginal moves and stuff like that, but what do you think? Like, okay, what's the one thing that I'd like to tweak to make us a championship winning team this year?
So, if you would have asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have said mainly just another solid wing for non-Tatum and Brown minutes, which I know there aren't going to be many minutes with both Tatum and Brown off the floor, but with those minutes, Sam Hauser, he's great when he's great. He's a phenomenal shooter, and he's a very good defender. Which I know Joe Mazzulla just straight up said. People look at him and think that he's a bad defender, but that's not true at all. I would have said like a Lonnie Walker or CDPA would be good, but recently, it's been since Porzingis got injured and Horford's been sitting out a little bit. They are awful at letting up offensive rebounds with those two guys off the floor. I like Luke Cornett. He's a very solid. He's a much better rim defender than I thought he was. He's a pretty good finisher. And then Keita's pretty good as well. Like these guys are just solid players. Like they're they're never going to be like starter level players. Yeah. If we could just grab like another rebounder, that might be my next best move. But I know people were talking about. I think the best idea that I heard was Nick Richards from the Hornets was pretty good. He'd be a pretty good fit there. And people were bringing up Andre Drummond. And Andre Drummond is an all-time rebounder. He is just that though. Like I think that's the only thing that he's good at is rebounding because I feel like him on the floor brings out so many more issues. He's a lazy defender. He doesn't really. He's not at all. He's not a good shot creator really. Like he's a very good finisher too. But I just don't want someone like I don't know how much I want him and like unless he's only going to go play like 6 minutes a game and then just to grab rebounds for when Porzingis and Al need rest.
Yeah, I know. Like, I mean, I'm sure I was not alone. I know I was not alone in thinking this in the offseason. But my biggest concern with the Celtics was always the front court. Like, what if one of those guys go down? Like, you're kind of in it. So I'm just looking through some of the standings and some players I have jotted down here, and I don't know his rebound numbers. But one guy that would look interesting to me, maybe on Boston, is Santi Aldama out of Memphis. He's a floor spacing 4. Could play small ball 5 again. I don't know his rebounding numbers, but I know Joe loves to shoot 3, so I think he'd fit in the offense, better than Drummond would. That's for sure. But
that's for sure. Yeah. Santi, let me see. Look real quick what his contract is actually.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, I know that the Grizzlies they're going through it right now. Like I don't even know if they're rostering actual NBA players with contracts. You know what it looks like? It reminds me of the year after COVID when they were signing random guys to 10 days and people were just showing up and playing. Yeah, with Memphis, it's like I have no idea who half these people are.
Yeah, so Santi Aldama looks like he would fit under the Grant Williams TPE. So that would be pretty cool. I don't know how many picks they would want, or what the market is for him currently. If it's 3 second-round picks, maybe I don't think it'd be any more than 3. But if it takes the TBE in 3 seconds, I don't see why they wouldn't do that. I'm not a cap expert by any stretch of the sense. I don't know. Do you follow Keith? I don't know. You probably don't follow him, but have you seen Keith Smith on Twitter by any chance?
I do. Yeah, I see him from time to time. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a Celtics guy, but he's also a massive cap expert. So, even though people are complaining that he can come up as a little whiny, he's still a very, very good follow if you need something to see if it works out for the cap issues because it was funny actually because this was right when the Celtics traded for Malcolm Brogdon, and Wall Street, the Celtics had traded for Malcolm Brogdon. We're wondering was it for under the TPE? Was it under? And literally right away we knew. Oh, what's he going to say? Oh no, it's okay. Oh no, they needed to trade salaries back because his salaries more than TPE. But oh good. So he's I feel like whenever there's a trade rumor going around, he fact checked to make sure, saying yes this would work, no this wouldn't work. So yeah, you always need a guy like that in your team to make sure.
It's good to have one of those guys because I mean they can kind of especially if you have them in your management, you can kind of mess around with the cap a little bit. But yeah, I think I've seen his tweets.
Yeah, you probably have. Yeah, he's pretty active. But those moves would be interesting. And as far as it goes for your Clippers, I don't know many moves that they can make either because they gave up a lot of stuff for Harden, so which is paying off as of now. But I wonder if Yeah, I wonder if there's anything that you think that they would that they could
Definitely.
benefit from.
We're definitely looking. I mean, the Clippers and the Celtics are so similar, man. Like we are
Yeah.
also looking for a four. If you look at our small ball lineups where we have Russ playing the center position, what we could benefit in that situation is what we could benefit in any situation on the court is just a guy that could play small ball five, but can also play the four as a floor spacer beside Zubac. Santi Aldama's name has been linked to the Clippers, but the guy that always gets mentioned is PJ Washington from Charlotte.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't know his defensive numbers, so I don't know how high I personally am on him. But it does seem like in terms of what would be going out for the Clippers, we would probably be sending out, well, it'd definitely be PJ Tucker's contract. He makes $11 million.
Right, yeah.
And then we've got Bones Highland, who I love him. Great energy on the court. Reminds you, he's kind of a skinny small guard. So it reminds me of guys like Jamal Crawford,
Right.
Lou Will,
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson, all former Clippers. But he's just not getting PT. He's not getting playing time here, and it's a better opportunity somewhere else. So him or some of the other young guys, but we've got a great rotation right now.
Absolutely.
And the one thing you got to think about is if you're bringing a guy in, who does that take minutes away from?
Yeah, exactly.
You're kind of in between right now.
Right. Yeah, cool. So, yeah, now that we've talked about like the teams and what they want, so let's talk about some of the players that are like some of the hotter ones on the market. So, and some of these will be mentioned, things that we mentioned. So the first guy that I'm going to mention actually is Alex Caruso. Caruso is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. He was elected first team all defense last year. I haven't checked to see how many minutes he's getting played this year. I know last year he wasn't getting too many minutes per game. So that people wonder like how effective of a defender would he be if he got more playing time. But still, eye test tells you he's very very quick to his man, very always knows where to be. So he would be a phenomenal fit on the Bucks, as I mentioned. So and yeah, we both mentioned they don't really have much to give up. The two guys that you mentioned were the exact two guys that I were sketching up. So I think it was Pat Connaughton and you mentioned him. Yeah, Pat Connaughton and Jay Crowder would be like the two guys that would fit under there. Is that enough? I don't know, but I also don't know how many teams are going after Alex Caruso though. So it would depend. I hope as a Celtics fan, I hope it's not that cheap for him because the Celtics can't afford him financially. The Bucks can. Yeah. So I hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, but like that something like that would be a big game changer for the Bucks.
I don't know if it would be enough. Like the reports I've seen, he's like they want an OG and an OB like package. Yeah. And I know that when you hear that, it sounds alarming, but really the Raptors didn't really get that much for OG and an OB. Right. Both RJ and IQ, they're younger guards that haven't fully developed, but they're also like 24, 25. Sure. Maybe RJ is a little bit younger. And then they got that second round pick from Detroit, but it'll end up being like the 31st or 32nd. So that's not an unreasonable return for a guy, like you said, Alex Caruso, who might be one of the best defenders at his position in the NBA.
Right.
For me, if I was looking at Caruso, if I was looking at a match, Bucks makes sense. I wonder if the Knicks call. I think the Knicks, I mean, I can mention my next guy, but I think the Knicks are definitely going to be looking for a guard that can be a two-way player for them.
And who is your guard for the Knicks? Because
it's a former Celtic. It'd be Malcolm Brogdon.
That is exactly. Yeah, I've written exactly that exact trade written down too. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, the Knicks fans would love that. That's he's that would be a great trade for them.
And Brogdon would offer them a bit more offense than Caruso would. I think Caruso can. He can contribute, but I think Brogdon can put the ball on the floor a lot more than Caruso, and I trust him with the ball in his hands, coming up the court. So
100%.
Be interesting for them,
for
sure.
Yeah, in order for that trade to come through, it would have to be Fournier and Grimes, as we mentioned, those two guys. So it'd be those two guys and probably a pick or two. Okay. He's on an expiring deal, so he can't be that expensive, but he is however making 22 mil, so there would get to be some salary matches there. So that's where Fournier would be good there. But yeah, Brogdon's having a really solid year for the Blazers. don't mean to don't want to get too personal here, but obviously there is concern about him falling off in the playoffs because it didn't just happen in Boston; it also happens when he was in Indiana and Milwaukee as well. So I don't know if that's I don't know if that's something that the Knicks would have to worry about too much. Given the fact that I don't think that Brogdon definitely wouldn't be starting. He would probably be the 6th or the 7th man.
I was gonna say, was he a lead guard in every one of those situations?
Well,
I guess.
Well, he wasn't the lead guard last year in Boston.
No,
There was
not last
it was Marcus and Derek. So,
year.
but
And you still felt like he kind of like fell off, choked in the playoffs. Like, I wonder if he's in the right role if it makes sense.
Well, also to be fair, last year was the year was like the only year that he was like on a contender that really needed him.
True.
I guess before that he was on the Bucks in 2019. As much as they so-called relied on him, he was there. He was always just a young guy to them. This was his third year. That was his third year in the league. So, I guess you can also I guess this would be like his first. This would be like his other first year. Okay, sorry, this wouldn't be his first year in like that in like the big spotlight. So yeah. And then are there any other trades that you had written down, or maybe I had one more.
I've got one here. Yeah, I mean Wiggins is the guy, right? Wiggins is probably the number one guy that everyone's talking about, and I think it's more of a deal for Golden State than it is for whoever gets
absolutely.
him. Dallas could use him. I've written down Dallas. A multitude of teams. If he did make a lot of money, I would love him in LA. But I mean, it's more of a need for Golden State to get off it because they've got a lot that they got to figure out, and they can't do it with all this money tied up. So I would say Wiggins to Dallas, to me, makes the most sense. Let me see if there's anyone that really stands out. Like Magic, does the Magic entertain? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, because it's a big contract. So it's like, why would Orlando want to get tied up with that?
Yeah. It's funny. The Magic were another team that I thought of earlier. I love the Magic, but yeah, they're a little bit it might be a little too early for them. Like it's a little earlier than I thought for them. Like I thought this would be the year that they broke through, but which they seem like they were, but I don't know. And then the last one that came to mind for me was just DeJounte Murray. I think he's the number one target that it seems like teams are going after. Seems like the Lakers are the front runners now. I saw that I think it was a 3-team trade. I think it was like DeJounte to the Lakers, Russ back to the Nets, and I think Dinwiddie to the Hawks, and then a couple of picks as well. I gotta say, like, I'm not really sure how much each team would benefit from that. I'm sure the Nets would be very happy to have D'Lo back. I'm sure D'Lo would be happy to go back home to where he was playing his best basketball when he was there, but that was also 6 years ago, or 5 or 6. I don't even know. Yeah, 4 years ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, 2019. Yeah, 2019. It was when.
KD.
That was when everyone loved that team. So yeah, that would be fun. The Hawks are just looking to get off Murray's contract, and then obviously the Lakers are just looking to get more defense in the backcourt because as both Reeves and D'Lo have been a little inconsistent this year on the offensive end, and they're both very below average defenders. So adding a guy who plays better defense, and then I know some people were saying that the Hawks weren't going to be making that deal without Reeves. I don't know if that would, I don't know if that's actually the case, but I do know that that based on fits, that the Lakers wanted to go after Murray Murray with getting over to D'Lo because Reeves was better in the playoffs last year, and obviously they just need one more defender. So yeah, that would be an interesting move.
You want to know my hot take?
Okay.
I don't think the Lakers do anything. I don't think they get it done. Maybe they get like a fringe move. Maybe Gabe Vincent goes out and like, I don't know. Kelly, like, I don't even know. I think Kelly Olynyk is too big, to be honest with you. Like,
he's making too much money. I don't think they can. Yeah.
I don't think they get it done. Like the talk that I've been hearing, and I'll be honest with you, I do not want to see this happen. Just because I know it would give us problems, is like a Nets deal where they get Dinwiddie, DFS, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Royce O'Neal. Give me
Wow.
1 second. I'm just gonna turn this phone off.
Yeah, that would be an interesting move for sure. The Lakers definitely were at a point last year where they had to. It wasn't really a desperation move, but they had to trade Russ, and then got those pieces back. It was they got D'Lo and Vanderbilt and some of those guys. So it was definitely that was definitely just that was like a match made in heaven for them when they traded Russ and they got all those players back. So yeah, they're kind of counting on a move for like that's happening again this year, which I know. Yeah, it seems like every year they make a move, and I think it was back in 2020. Was it 1 or 2? Yeah, 2022. When everyone was shocked about how the Lakers didn't make this big move, and then everyone's saying, and then the comeback was, okay, they really don't have much though. And this year, D'Lo's valuable, Reeves is valuable, but they don't want to get rid of him. Yeah, they really don't have much. And I know that Woj was also saying that they also have. They might be the best bet to wait this offseason because then next offseason they're going to have 3 first-round picks. So that'll be a much better move to make.
Yeah, I honestly, gut feeling, I don't think the Lakers management want to. I think they understand the landscape of the last year of LeBron's contract scenarios over the last 21 years. You know what I mean? Where it's he's in the last contract, puts the pressure on the management to make trades, sometimes leaves them in the dust, right? We look at Cleveland, we look at Miami, and then those franchises are left with no picks like they've got now, no prospects because they traded them all away, and LeBron leaves and he's a free agent. I personally, this is a whole different conversation about collegiate basketball. I don't think Bronny's ready to come into the NBA, and I know that's what he's wait for.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I don't know, man. And if they don't do what he wants them to do, which they don't seem too keen on doing, why does he stay? You know, he's trying to win a championship. If the Lakers aren't serious about winning a championship, why am I going to stay with them? So I think it has more to do with them not wanting to do it than not having the assets. But they also
it's kind of similar to what Miami did in 2014, where they finally put their foot down and said, listen, like as much as we want to win a championship and we want you to stay here long term, we also got to look at things. We also got to look at things like ahead for the worst as well, because that's what happens in reality sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's my hot take. Again, maybe it's like a small fringe move.
I don't know.
They're doing anything.
It'll be that'll be interesting for sure. I'm very happy about Kelly Olynyk because my 2 brothers that were on the show last week, they're both the 3 of us big Kelly Olynyk fans for obvious reasons. He put together that was the best Game 7 performance that I've ever seen. Was against the Wizards. So yeah, that's a great way to end the show actually. But
Kelly Olynyk, before you go,
go ahead.
The Clippers, that would be someone I would love on the Clippers.
Oh, that would be so great.
A guy with size that can play the 4, can play 5, the ball, and he's Canadian. So shout out to him.
Nice.
Canadian, but
yeah. But before we go, before I give my little ending, do you want to push any plugs?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can follow. I'm basically majorly on TikTok and Twitter. I'm really trying to grow a bit more on Twitter lately. But it's my name, Tobias Barkley, on all platforms, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, but active on Twitter and TikTok the most for sure.
Fantastic. Well, Tobias, thanks for coming on. This definitely won't be our last time interacting with each other. I'm sure we'll talk more about the trade deadline once it hits on Thursday.
For sure.
And for those of you watching, please stay tuned for there'll be another podcast releasing on Thursday nights. That will be I'm having Nick Mack from Fadeaway World on, and we'll be talking. We'll be reacting to the trade. Yeah, Nick. We'll be reacting to the trade, so that'll be a whole other thing. But anyway, like and subscribe to the video. Follow me on all my social media platforms. It's All American Hooper for all of them on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can look at my column on primetimesportstalk.com. Read my most recent article in which I talked about the Clippers on the rise. So, those are all my plugs. Tobias, again, thanks so much for coming on, and I hope everyone else has a great night.
Of course. See you in the finals.
Yes, sir.